Now then, how are you getting on? Today I'm going to show you a series of albums that was released in 1973 in Japan. Now, Elvis had just had another #1 album, the Aloha from Hawaii album, and so there was a lot of interest in Elvis's music again. And so RCA put out a series of 20 re-released albums. And first of all, I'm going to take you through the albums and then look at a few in more detail. So the first one, we start right back at the beginning with the first album. And one thing that you got with this album, or with all the albums actually, was an insert which had the lyrics on one side and some Japanese notes on the other side. And if you look on the back cover here, you can see it's the same as the American back cover. Now, most of these albums, if not all of them, were being released for the first time with the American back cover designs. Now, in this diagonal red strip here, you can see there's some Japanese text, and that actually says poster enclosed. So I'm going to show you some of these posters later on. So that's the first one. This is the same album again, but it has a different obi. And I'll come back to that one as well. The second album in the series was, naturally enough, the second album, Elvis, and this one also has the US back cover with the insert. The next album is Loving You. And again, it has the American back cover. I believe it was being released with this back cover for the first time. Was Golden Records. Same back cover as the US one. Now, the original pressing of Golden Records actually had the same back cover as the American one, so this was this had already appeared in the American sleeve front and back. The next one is King Creole with the American back cover. So on the original pressings of King Creole, or the 60s pressings I should say, they used different photos on the back cover. The next one is For LP Fans Only. And again, the American design back cover. At the back of the obi here you can just see a list of the other albums in the same series. This is A Date with Elvis. It doesn't have the obi. And on the back it has this slightly later back cover design, not the same as the, well, in fact the 50s one was a gatefold cover, wasn't it? Gold Records Volume 2, American design back cover, Elvis's back, and this is just a single sleeve, it's not a gatefold. And then we get into the, well, the second album in the 60s, GI Blues. This is another album which had this design on the first pressing back in 1960. Next one is His Hand in Mine. And again, it's appearing with the American back cover for the first time. Potluck. There's the back cover. If you're wondering about the Christmas album and Blue Hawaii albums like that, they were already still available, so they weren't part of this series. Here's Golden Records Volume 3, the American back cover for the first time. The one mystery is Something for Everybody. That one didn't appear in this series, I'm not sure why. Elvis for Everyone, American back cover. The original, which I showed last week, was slightly different on the Japanese back cover. Gold Records Volume 4, again with the American back cover. So I showed a series recently, the Gold Records Volume 1, Volumes 1 to 4, with the gatefold sleeves on the different front and back covers. And they came out in 1972. So because these albums here came out in 73, those gatefold sleeve versions were only available for about a year. Here is From Elvis in Memphis, with the American back cover. And you can see this one's got nothing on the back. So some of them, for some reason, have plain white backs on the obi. This is another version of From Elvis in Memphis. It's slightly different to the one I've just shown you, not just because of the discography on the back, but I'll go into that a little bit later. back in Memphis. So this was the first, and yeah, I think this is the only time this album was released in Japan as a single LP, 1973. There's Elvis Country. This also had the same back cover as the American version in the first pressing, but it was released in a gatefold sleeve. Here it's not in a gatefold sleeve anymore. Love Letters, this was also released in a gatefold sleeve originally. This one is not in a gatefold sleeve. And there's another copy of Love Letters. This is slightly different to the one I just showed you. There's a copy of Elvis Now. This has the American back cover for the first time. This was another one which came out in a gatefold sleeve, and it had a different picture on the back. And another copy of Elvis Now with the American back cover. This one is slightly different to the one I just showed you. Okay, so here's Back in Memphis. Now, as I think I mentioned before, this diagonal strip here, the red strip here, you can see there's some Japanese text in there. Now that actually says poster enclosed. If we look at this copy of Love Letters here, you can see it still has the red strip, but there's no text in it. So that tells you that this one came without a poster. Maybe Elvis Now is a better example to show you because it's got two different colours. So here's Elvis Now. Here's the red strip. There's no writing in there, so this one did not come with a poster. And here's Elvis Now with a white obi, not yellow. Again, it's got the red strip. There's no writing in it, so this one didn't come with a poster either. So all 20 albums originally came with a poster. So all 20 albums will have had the writing here in the red band. Just one more thing while I've got this copy in my hand. If you look at the bottom of the obi here, you might be able to see there's a very small sticker just about where my finger is now, and that's a 2,200 yen sticker. So the original price of these albums was 2,000 yen when they came out in 1973, and then I think it was at the beginning of 1974 when the price of albums went up by 200 yen. So if there was any unsold stock, they had to put a new price sticker over the old price. So if we go back to these copies of Elvis Now, there's two here. So what's the difference? Neither of them have got the poster enclosed. Now again, we have to go right down to the bottom of the obi. I wonder if you can see there, it says RVC Corporation. Now this is the name of the manufacturer, and this company was formed in 1975. So that tells you that this album was made in 1975 or later. Now this particular series was still on catalogue in the mid-1980s, so if you have a copy like this with the RVC Corporation obi, there's not really any way of knowing when it was made. And if we just compare that to the yellow obi version here, if you look at the bottom here, it doesn't matter that if you can't read it, but you'll see that there's no RVC there. That's because it's a different manufacturer, and the manufacturer was called Victor Musical Industries. Now that company finished in 1975, and then RVC took over the manufacturing. So this one will have been released sometime between 1973 and 1975, but it's not one of the first ones because it doesn't have the poster enclosed text. So what about these posters, you're probably thinking? Well, this is not a poster, but this is actually the insert that came with Elvis's back. Okay, so you don't get the gatefold sleeve, you still get the liner notes and the lyrics, but you also get the GI snapshots on this 4-page insert. So I'll show you some of the photos, some of the posters. Now these are 24 by 12 inches, and you can see it's a picture of Elvis on stage. At the bottom they've got his name, and they've got the RCA logo on the left, and then on the right you can see they have the catalogue number as well, so you can tell which album it goes with. And there's, at the bottom it also says from Elvis on tour. Here's another one, Elvis Presley RCA logo, and then the catalogue number 6112, and then it says from Elvis on tour again at the bottom. And here's another one. You can see there's a pattern emerging here, right? All of the pictures are 1970s live on stage pictures. The name, RCA, the catalogue number 6111, and again it says from Elvis on tour. Here, same again. This one is 6101. So this is actually from the first album, the Elvis Presley album. And at the bottom here it says photo by Y. Kizaki. So some of them were taken by Japanese photographers, and in such a case they will put the Japanese photographer's name at the bottom. Here's one more. This is 6117, so that's one of the last ones. And this one also from Elvis on tour. So if you come across any of the albums in this series and you're thinking, should it have a poster? The best way to tell is to look for this strip, the red strip here on the obi. If you can see some text here, then this is one of the originals and it should come with the poster. They often don't come with the posters because people, hung them on their walls. So don't be surprised if you find one with the text but with no poster. And if you find one with the red strip here with no text, this means that it never came with a poster. And if you can see the letters RVC at the bottom of the obi, then that means it's one of the last pressings. Now I'll say all that, but I do have one in the collection which is very unusual, and I'll show you why. So it's this one here again, Gold Records Volume 2. So you can see here it's got the red strip with no text in there. And if you look at the bottom of the obi, you can see there's no RVC on there. So this is the Victor Musical Industries obi, that's the second one. Remember there are 3 different obis. However, the LP, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but right at the bottom of the LP label it says manufactured by RVC Corporation, which means it's one of the last ones, 1975 or later. Now for some reason this one does have the poster. There it is, with the correct catalogue number there, RCA 6108. This is another picture taken by one of the Japanese photographers. So why that one ended up with a poster when it's manufactured by RVC Corporation, so it certainly shouldn't have had a poster, I've got no idea. So obviously they don't manufacture the exact same numbers of posters and obis and covers and records. They're all kind of different numbers. So that particular copy must have come with a leftover poster. I've absolutely no doubt that it came that way. So if you're interested in this collection, the 50s albums that are in this series, then they're in stereo, so I can't really recommend them for the sound, but they're worth having for the American cover designs, which you don't usually get on Japanese pressings, and they're worth having if you can get one with the poster. And as for the 60s ones, then I can definitely recommend those, even if you don't get one with a poster, 60s and 70s ones, because they all sound really good. And in the case of an album like this, it was never released again, so this is really the only way to get back in Memphis if you want a Japanese copy. And I think that just about wraps it up. Okay, thanks for watching, and take care.